artist, naturalist, husband, dad, Canadian, author. These are all words that describe Robert Bateman of Salt Spring Island, BC. But just who is he? Robert Bateman was born May 24, 1930, to Joseph and Annie Bateman. He grew up in Toronto, Canada, and even in his earliest years, he loved and wanted to explore nature. He loved birdwatching and taking hikes. One thing Robert was especially interested in was painting, but he only enjoyed it for fun. He enjoyed painting all of the things he saw outside, and his easel was often set out in the backyard as he painted the birds that would land in the trees. In 1954, Robert graduated from the Victoria College in the University of Toronto, and then later from the Ontario College of Education, where he received degrees in geography and education. He became a high school art and geography teacher in Toronto, and even taught a year in Nigeria. He always painted in his free time. In one interview, Robert mentioned that he became a geography teacher because he got to take free field trips, giving him the opportunity to paint. He was a high school teacher for 29 years before he quit and became a full-time artist. In the 1970s and 80s, he began to have shows and became more popular. In 1987, Bateman held a show at the Smithsonian Museum and drew a huge crowd. This was a big turning point in his career and a lot of the reason why he became so famous. In 1977, Bateman began making prints of his paintings to sell and to let more people experience his work. He got a lot of grief about this because prints weren't very popular back then, and a lot thought that it took away from the art of it. In order to make a living off being an artist, though, Bateman needed an income, and lots of people enjoyed the fact that they could have one of his pictures in their house. Bateman did not let this affect him as an artist, and continued to grow and get better. Robert Bateman paints pictures of nature and wildlife in the realism style. He almost always uses acrylics. In his late teens to late 20s, he experimented a lot with Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. He likes and appreciates art of all kinds. Robert says that the only way to really pay homage to nature is to try and paint it exactly as it is. He states that he is still working on how to do that. Bateman has his paintings up all over the world, and even has his own gallery in British Columbia, the Robert Bateman Center. Bateman has even made paintings for Prince Philip, Prince Charles, and Prince William and Princess Kate. To create one of his paintings, animals won't pose for you for hours, so Bateman will take pictures of them in their natural habitats. He will then take those pictures home, print them off, and then use them for inspiration as he paints. He does his very best to make sure his paintings are very accurate and does justice to nature. Robert says that he paints to reflect his commitment to ecology and preservation. He wants to share with everyone the beautiful nature of the earth and inspire them to help protect it. One of his favorite subjects to paint is the relationship between humans and nature. He uses his paintings to document humanity. Bateman is a strong naturalist. In 1999, the Audubon Society of Canada named Bateman one of the top 100 environmentalists of the 20th century. He and his family are devoted to living environmentally conscious, and he has a foundation to help preserve and protect nature. The following video shows Robert in his everyday life at home.
Before I head off, after breakfast I do last night's dishes. I think domestic chores are very underrated. But I love doing dishes. It's very soothing They can be very Zen-like. I think even the most jaded urbanite can be inspired by bits and glimpses of nature. I've been observing the Canadian landscape through my brush since the 1940s. I have seen a lot of changes, and we seem to be wiping out this natural heritage and replacing it with uniformity. And uniformity is not only boring, it's dangerous. Virtually every human heritage thing I'd painted, barns, old stables, train station, rail fences, have been torn down. And I'm quite worried, especially about the grandkids. What we're doing right now is grandchild abuse. E.F. Schumacher, one of my great heroes who wrote Small is Beautiful, said the real problems facing the planet are not economic or not technical, they're philosophical. There are all kinds of reports, there's endless journals and books on how to make the world a better place. But we have to want to in our hearts. And if we think a better future for our children and grandchildren, it will come. Everybody should speak up. Doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, chief executive officers. Too many people have their lips buttoned. We know what we have to do.
The Bateman Foundation helps to fund environmental programs that will bring youth, educators, artists, and the outdoors together. They have a two-part mandate that states they will 1. Challenge the public and society's leaders to a new dialogue about our relationship with nature through strategic partnerships, research, collaboration, and public education. 2. To assume custodianship of the intellectual property, collections, and archives of the Robert Bateman and other artists of nature in perpetuity, and to use every means possible to make the artworks and stories available to the public for education and inspiration. One of the most amazing things about Robert Bateman was that he never received formal art training. He taught himself and uses his raw talent to reflect what he sees. Robert has received many honors and honorary doctorates throughout his years. He has 3 schools named after him. 1 is in British Columbia and 2 are in Ontario. Bateman is even the honorary North American Plant Society director. He has 6 books of his paintings. He has also received the Order of British Columbia and the Order of Canada. Bateman is a world traveler and loves to experience all the things the world has to give him. He travels with his wife Birgit. Bateman has 5 kids, all of whom love nature like him. For my art project, I decided to make a diorama based off of one of Bateman's swan paintings. I took an old shoebox, painted it blue to resemble the water, then painted the pop-ups, which included 2 plant pieces and 2 swans. I wanted it to look really 3-dimensional and interesting to look at. In the picture, there are originally 2 swans behind the plants, but to make it a little more 3D, I put 1 swan in front. I printed off 2 pictures of real swans for my diorama. Here's the finished product. Bateman is still painting today at age 83. He continues to make speeches, teach clinics, and participate as a strong advocate for nature. Artist, naturalist, husband, dad, Canadian, author are all words that describe Robert Bateman of Salt Spring Island, BC.